noticed that the president has said he would renegotiate the sharing formula because there are those who say some local governments can't survive on the FAC allocation without help from the state. Another opinion is that if you're sincere with what they get from the federal governments, they will survive on their own. But in all of this, how do we also strike a delicate, balanced approach that takes into account the unique needs and circumstances of each local government, which is crucial for ensuring effective governance and service delivery at the grassroots level? So those local government chairmen who really want to work would have enough to work, so they wouldn't be at the mercy of their governors.
Well, look, I think that the parameters for implementation is still very much in process, and I think it's very important that I am not on a primetime television platform presupposing or preempting processes that have yet to conclude. With that said, I think that what Nigerians expect of public officials at all levels of government following the judgment of the Supreme Court is a mature, rational, and clear-sighted approach to coordination and working together in a fashion that obviously upholds the judgment of the Supreme Court, but also ensures that there is an effective monitoring and evaluation mechanism for the local governments who will now be benefiting from this direct infusion of resource that should have been made available to them for over a very long period of time now. I also think that there is not, I think, enough understanding and as a result conversation about the extent of what local government administrators must be responsible for. I think there's kind of this two-sided understanding of, or should I say, a dualized viewpoint of kind of administration in the country, just simply between national and subnational. But there is that third tier, and I think to be able for our people to be able to effectively hold to account local government administrators, it's going to be pivotal that there's an understanding widely of what it is their local governments are expected to do in relation to the state governments, and ultimately ensuring that there's coordination between the local government areas within any state, so that you don't have, duplicated, programs and projects, overlap, and underdevelopment that results from that. So I think there's quite a bit of work that's still going to be done, frankly, in terms of the implementation of the judgment. I don't think there's any question about that. But I do think that there is a very wide and robust consensus amongst not just the Nigeria Governors Forum, but also amongst the unions like ALGAN, for example, associations rather like ALGAN, as well as the federal government, around the fact that the judgment has been rendered, and now the hard work at a full implementation of that judgment that is just and that is ultimately functioned to deliver world-class service delivery to Nigerians who, of course, live within these local government areas and LCDAs across the country, that this is all about ensuring that their best interest is met. And I think the president's move to institute the suit that led to this judgment is ultimately going to be one of those crown jewels in his legacy crown at the end that Nigerians will look back on and say, yes, it was the administration of President Bola Tinubu that saw this come into effect. And I think it's also important to mention very quickly, Jumoke, that this wasn't the first attempt, right? But it is the first one that's successful. And the reason why was, if you recall, under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari, there was an attempt to, of course, implement, first of all, produce and then implement an executive order that was obviously challenged in court that sought to do something similar, but the process obviously was not as perhaps well considered, and of course the result was that it was not able to stand up. But because the process was well considered, we have now seen the right outcome. And I think the final leg of this that should get, I think, a little bit more attention than it does is the fact that there was a specific stipulation within the judgment that dealt with the fact that you have, for a very long time, had unelected caretaker chairman, essentially, using the resources of the people without any accountability with respect to, why it is that they're in that office in the first place. I think dealing with that, I think, is going to be one of the major elements, ultimately, that we'll look back on and say, if anybody's going to handle the resources of the people, certainly it should be somebody with a mandate, from the people themselves. So there are really a lot of elements as to why, despite any political differences, despite any differences along ethnic, religious, gender, or any other kind of artificial line between people in the country, there was universal praise for the judgment of the Supreme Court and for the institution of the suit by the administration of His Excellency Mr. President that led to it.